Well, good morning. I had hoped to be with you in person on Mothering Sunday, but it wasn't to be. But through the wonders of technology, I can still come and talk to you. How very appropriate for this Mothering Sunday to talk about 5 remarkable women. Not that they set out to be remarkable, I understand. Each stood up for what was right against evil, against tyranny, and against oppression. And like the woman holding the protest banner on Russian television, 3,500 years ago, these 5 women went down in history for their actions. Each played a part in the unfolding of God's plan, as we will see in a minute. You will note that, strangely enough, we actually know 4 of the 5 women's names. Now, it is well said that all it takes for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. Each of these women did stand up to the evil they saw in their day. The problem that Pharaoh had seems very familiar to us. You see, it was these immigrants who were increasing in number rather rapidly. There were too many of them, and they were a security risk because they would have sided with an enemy against Egypt. But on the other hand, they were useful because they did all the manual and menial jobs that the Egyptians didn't really want to do for themselves. Somehow, nothing ever changes in history, does it? So, Pharaoh decided to limit the population growth by ordering the midwives to kill off the baby boys. But Shiphrah and Puah, we are told twice, feared the Lord and refused the direct order of the Pharaoh. They defied the direct order of a tyrant. Of course, Pharaoh wasn't too pleased about this and asked them to account for their disobedience. To which they came up with an ingenious explanation, not quite a lie. Many Hebrew women would have been poor and couldn't afford the services of a midwife. So that having failed, Pharaoh ordered all Hebrew baby boys to be thrown into the Nile to get drowned. Now we find 2 more remarkable women, Jochebed and her daughter Miriam. When Jochebed gave birth to a baby boy, she was worried that he would be discovered and killed. Her plan was cunning. She would put him in the Nile, but in a waterproof container, possibly right where it was known the royal household bathed. And to make sure that her plan worked, she told her eldest child to keep watch. It was said by the Greek historian Pliny the Elder that the Nile was thought to be sacred at that time, and bathing in it was a health treatment, a bit like taking the waters in a spa town. Now the princess, the only woman not named, of course, found the baby, and she could not find it in herself to have him killed. Up jumped Miriam, offering to find a wet nurse, who, of course, was the baby's own mother. And, as a bonus, she was paid for her services to wean the baby. But I'm afraid there's always a but in these stories. After the child was weaned, he had to be handed over to the safekeeping of the princess. Pharaoh's daughter went clean against her father's direct order and stood up against his tyranny by not only saving a Hebrew baby boy, but bringing him up in the royal apartments. Now, we don't know much about her. We don't know whether she was married or couldn't have children of her own or whatever. But we do know that Moses spent the first 40 years of his life right inside Pharaoh's palace. Now, each of these women had become remarkable in their own actions. Each took great courage, and things could have gone wrong at any stage for each of them. But of course, it was all part of the plan that God had. God had seen the suffering of his people. God remembered the covenants that he'd made with Abraham and with Jacob. And he was preparing the most amazing story of all, the rescuing of a whole people from slavery through the plagues and through the final act of Passover, led by none other than Moses. 1,300 years later, during the remembrance meal for that first Passover, Christ was to tell his followers that God was going to rescue the whole of mankind through one supreme sacrifice, his own death on the cross itself, where all our sins were removed and the tyranny of sin in our lives was to be confronted and defeated for all time. 5 remarkable women, but they did not set out to be remarkable. Today there are still women who are doing remarkable things in the name of God, risking rejection from their families, persecution from the authorities, solely to spread the light of Jesus to others, to give hope in a dark place. Doing the right thing has never been easy, but evil has to be challenged, and it has to be defeated by the power of God's love. God bless you all.